In the heart of Somerset, England, nestled between rolling green hills and narrow stone-walled roads, there's a village so small it barely shows up on most maps. It's a place where everyone knows each other's names. The baker still calls you love, and the loudest noise most afternoons is the church bell marking time. It's also the last known location of a man named Peter Williamson, a man who vanished without a trace in 2014. Under circumstances so bizarre, so deeply unexplained, that some have come to believe he didn't just disappear. He crossed over into another world. This is his story. Peter was 42 years old, a man of routines, soft-spoken, with a dry British wit and an old-fashioned way of seeing the world. By day, he worked remotely as a forensic accountant. He specialized in tracing lost money for insurance fraud cases, often hired by banks and large firms. His co-workers called him the Hawk, not because he was aggressive, but because he noticed everything. The smallest detail on a spreadsheet, the odd pattern in a bank statement. He had the kind of mind that worked like a lockpick, methodical, precise, and quietly brilliant. But outside of work, Peter lived a quieter life. He had no wife, no kids. He had been engaged once in his early 30s to a woman named Rachel, but the relationship ended when she took a job in Canada and he chose to stay. It wasn't dramatic, more like a quiet, mutual drifting apart. Rachel would later say, Peter was married to his peace, and that peace was his little cottage in Somerset, a whitewashed house built in the 1800s, with ivy climbing the front, and a wood-burning stove that he insisted on using even though central heating worked fine. He kept a garden, too, mostly herbs and tomatoes, and every morning, without fail, he walked his golden retriever, Max, along the winding country paths that hugged the edge of the woods. To the people of the village, Peter was friendly but private, the kind of person you waved at from across the lane, but never quite knew intimately. He volunteered at the local library, played chess on weekends at the pub, and had a standing invite to a monthly trivia night he rarely attended. He wasn't lonely, until that summer night in July 26, 2014. It was a Saturday. Peter had invited 4 close friends, Rob, Naomi, Gil, and Anish, for a barbecue in his backyard. It was the first social gathering he'd hosted in over a year. He'd even built a little pergola with string lights and bought a new outdoor fire pit. It was, by all accounts, the perfect evening. The grill was on, music playing, soft 80 seconds rock. Max, his dog, lay lazily in the shade. Beer bottles clinked, laughter echoed across the open fields. Until, just after 7 p.m., the air changed. Naomi was the first to comment on it. She later told investigators, it was like the pressure dropped, like your ears pop on a plane, but not exactly. It felt wrong. The clouds rolled in fast, unnatural fast, dark, heavy. The wind picked up in a matter of minutes, sending plastic cups flying and rustling the hedges. And then, lightning. The first bolt hit a nearby field. Max, terrified, bolted. Peter didn't hesitate. He shouted the dog's name, grabbed the leash that was trailing behind, and sprinted across the wet grass. Gil shouted after him, Peter, wait. But he didn't. What happened next has been debated endlessly. Peter was halfway across the lawn when the lightning struck again, closer this time. Not directly on him, but near him. There was a sound, not just thunder, but something else. A vibration, one witness said, like metal humming in your teeth. Then a light, blinding, white-blue, like a camera flash that didn't fade. And when it cleared, Peter was gone. No body, no blood, no shoes, no scorch mark, no smell of ozone, nothing but the leash, still slightly warm. Emergency services arrived within 20 minutes. A full-scale search began within hours. Thermal drones, dogs, divers, the nearby stream and forest were combed for 6 days straight. Peter was officially declared a missing person. But the questions didn't stop, because something about the event defied all logic. Meteorologists said there was no prior indication of that storm on the radar. Physicists later examined the soil. No sign of a typical lightning impact. The power grid in the area didn't even register a strike. And then there was the shimmer. Naomi and Rob both said they saw it, just as Peter disappeared. A ripple, Rob said, like someone dropped a stone in the air. Rob became obsessed. He took a leave from work, built a home lab, studied theories on ball lightning, electromagnetic anomalies, parallel universes. He was laughed at until he found something that changed the game. 6 months after the incident, Peter's phone, which had been inactive since the night he vanished, pinged a cell tower in Luxembourg for 2.7 seconds, then gone. Investigators dismissed it as a glitch, but Rob didn't. He flew to Luxembourg. He tracked the tower, narrowed the radius to a remote forest, hiked through it. He found no people, no campsite, but he did find a tree. On that tree, carved into the bark, the incident remains unsolved. Officially, Peter Williamson is still listed as a missing person, but the theories have only multiplied. Some say he was vaporized by freak lightning. Some believe it was a hoax, that Peter faked his death and vanished on purpose. But others think Peter was pulled into a dimensional rift, that he didn't die. but transitioned. Rob believes Peter is alive, somewhere else, maybe a parallel Earth, a fractured copy of our reality, one where Peter is trying to find his way back. In forums online, people claim sightings: a man with no shoes, wandering the woods, always calling for Max, blurry photos, glimpses on trail cams, digital audio anomalies that sound eerily like a voice, distorted by static. The silence. Every year on July 26th, Rob returns to Peter's home. It keeps it maintained, waters the garden, keeps the fire pit clean, just in case. Sometimes, when the weather turns and the sky goes dark without warning, he swears he hears barking and a voice calling into the wind. Max, Max. If Peter Williamson is still out there, maybe one day the storm will bring him home. If you want to know about the story of the man who survived 438 days stranded in the sea, click on the video on screen.